Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Charlie Havens, the president of Lambda Pi Eta and a Martin Scholar. I'm really excited today because we have a really great group of alumni and current students to talk about their experience with the pandemic. So today what we're going to be talking about is what advice you would give yourself, or they would give themselves, excuse me, if they, like prior to the pandemic, if they knew what was going to happen. So throughout the session, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat box and I'll make sure that everyone gets a chance to get their questions answered. So I think we're going to start with introductions. Courtney, if you want to take it away.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I am Courtney Hicks. I am a 2019 graduate of the College of Charleston, double majoring in communication and African American studies. I truly enjoyed my time at the College of Charleston, was able to meet a lot of great people and also continue my professional career with a subsect of the college at the Avery Research Center for African American History and Culture, where I'm the outreach and public programming coordinator. And it is great to be with you all today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Whitley Taylor. I am a class of 2020 graduate of the College of Charleston. I majored in communication and minored in leadership while I was at CofC. I was also in the Martin Scholars, Lambda Pi Eta, a few other organizations around campus. I now work as a account coordinator at a company called 300 Brand. It's a full service PR marketing events agency in Alexandria, Virginia. But I'm working remotely, so I've never once been to the office. So I'm excited to be here with you all.
Awesome. Hi, guys. My name's Celie Shankman. I'm a senior here at the college, double majoring in marketing and communication. Specifically in the college, I'm a Martin Scholar with Charlie. I'm a tour guide on campus. I'm in the Honors College. I helped co-found the business fraternity on campus. And I've studied abroad 1.5 times, got canceled due to COVID when I was there, but it's okay. And then outside of the college, I have my own small business. I've had many internships in nonprofits and wholesale retailer companies. And then I just finished my teaching certification last night, actually.
Hey guys, my name is Nick Nicabelli. I'm a communication major, senior, and a minor in Russian studies. I moved to Charleston to attend here from DC and fell in love with the city. Currently wrapping up and working as a strategic marketing fellow for the Charleston Wine and Food Festival.
All right, thank you guys so much. So I guess to kick it off, my question for all of you would be, what is something that you picked up during quarantine or during the pandemic, but more specifically maybe in the beginning of quarantine, that you've kept throughout? So whether there's a habit that you picked up that you found will continue on your life after hopefully the pandemic ends, is there anything that you found really helped you to get through this?
I can start. I already know off the top of my head. I picked up a few things in the pandemic. It's been a year, so I had to, keep busy. One of the things I do once a week is I have tutoring to learn a new language just to help improve my skills a little bit. And then I also study on my own personal time. I started making jewelry for my friends just to keep everybody happy and my mental health up during the pandemic. And I turned that into a small business just for passive income. And then I had one more, but I completely lost it. Oh, networking was my other thing. I got back into contact with past employers and mentors that I had just completely forgotten to reach out to due to the hecticness of school.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I rambled a little bit there too.
Very good.
But are there any things you picked up, whether it's a habit or a skill set or a hobby during the pandemic that you found really improves your life that you would like to continue after the pandemic ends?
Yeah, so I know a lot of the students who are on here, you're focusing on PR. That's one thing that COM really focuses on: PR, social media management, and marketing and things like that, to the point where sometimes you're looking in such a professional point of view that you don't necessarily make those interpersonal connections in a digital space. So one thing that has been really exciting for me was, with my job and my position in doing outreach when you only have to do it via a screen, is actually engaging in multiple different platforms in conversation with our community. So that can come from knowing what age group enjoys Facebook and will actually comment on this, knowing what group is going to comment, via email, and not creating content that is just for publicity, but also to kind of check in on people. And that gives you a more sense of belonging in your space, and also makes your community members feel as though they are in a space that cares about them and like they have a personal connection to us. So that's one thing that I've enjoyed. I've made so many friends and supporters during this time, not just throughout my job, but also personally. So I also started blogging. I was doing a little bit more with my health journey and different things that I enjoyed doing. And it connected me to a group of amazing supporters who not only support me now personally, but also professionally. So just kind of making those connections interpersonally with different people.
I think one hobby that I picked up that I think everyone should try because it really helped. Everything was hectic on the media, social media, news media, everything was hectic, misinformation flying, every information flying. And I just saw myself turning off my phone and reading a book and just meditating for those 15 to 30 minutes, just to kind of breathe, regroup, and focus on how you're gonna tackle your next objective for the day or for the week, especially with online school. Can be very difficult to organize things, but taking that 15 to 30 minutes just to kind of disconnect for a little bit, regroup, and then come back at it, I found that was super helpful, and I recommend everyone give it a try.
Nick, I did the same as well, and I actually found it to be probably more helpful than really most things, because you're getting to know yourself, and you're getting to just like step back and get a different perspective that you might not have had before.
For sure. And yeah, it really helped. So like I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm last in the lineup. I'll answer this a little differently. I'm gonna take this in what I've learned through working remotely, because like I said, I've never even once been to my office before. So I definitely have picked up a lot of skills throughout my time working remotely. So I started this job in October, and I would say that it was definitely a difficult onboarding process just to, even up to this point, I've never met anyone in person before. And so just learning all the technologies and all the softwares and all of our everyday skills that I need to do this job has been really difficult while working remotely. So like I would say, I think one thing that I've taken away from the onboarding process completely virtually is just, it takes a lot more effort to get to know people, and it takes a lot more effort to learn those skills. So I've been telling myself that I need to be asking more questions and reaching out to people more, just to create those work relationships in a virtual setting, which I know one day will translate to in person, but it's just been an interesting adjustment.
Whitley, I feel like that brings up an interesting question. So you graduated last year.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like finding a job amidst the pandemic? And if you maybe had any tips or any advice for how to make yourself stand out in a virtual job platform, trying to get a job and really make yourself stand out from the others, because I know that can be kind of tricky for people when everything's on Zoom and you're submitting your resume just online.
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk you guys a little bit through how my job search journey went. So pre-COVID, like February of 2020, I had already received a few job offers for post-graduation, and I was really excited. Obviously, when COVID hit, everything completely shut down, everything was stripped away, and I just kind of had to start from scratch. So I'd say the most difficult part was just kind of accepting that and learning that I'd have to roll with the punches and keep going as I could, and just something would work out eventually. So I'd say that I spent those first like 4 or 5 months during COVID really just networking. I feel like that was my only outlet during the time, as everyone was kind of confused about what was going on. And it really was a time that you could just talk to people. You could get with anyone on Zoom. There was no barriers. Everyone was at home. And so it was a great time to network. I'd say that I added probably hundreds of people on LinkedIn, which who knows if that's a good strategy or not. But I just networked and set up professional calls with people. I asked for advice, asked asked people what their jobs were, what their everyday responsibilities looked like, how they'd shifted because of COVID, just kind of get to know people because you never know where that'll take you. I heard this saying that's really stuck with me that someone told me on one of my networking calls throughout my job search, was that if you ask for advice, it may result in a job, but if you ask for a job from someone, it ends up them just giving you advice. So I've really taken that with me to just think about, ask people about themselves. They want to talk about themselves. They want to learn about you as a student. So just continue to network and continue to grow your relationships, because it's about who you know in the job search. It's not what you know. Well, what you know is important. You need to have the skills to complete the job, but who you know will really take you places. So I ended up getting my job just through a connection of a connection of a connection, thanks to lots of those network calls I've done. But it's difficult to stand out in person, virtually versus in person. But like I said, just don't be afraid to be yourself and continue to grow your network and everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. So this next question is from Allie. Since the pandemic, what assets or skill sets from your career, or for Celia and Nick, your majors, did you have to improve in to continue working at such a high standard?
I'm going to answer that from a professional point of view. So post-graduation, I came up to the Avery, was really excited as I was a double major in comm and African-American studies. So it was like the perfect position as I was doing public programming and more marketing things in an African-American history museum. And I loved creating in-person events, bringing speakers, and then boom, it all ended, having to figure out how to work a virtual space. And also we got Zoom bombed. So we had a person that put a lot of obscenities and stuff on events. So I had to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out how we would be able to have these interactive, prolific, amazing events that engage our community, that also serve our community, and they're able to learn something and also feel like it's a mutually beneficial relationship with the topics that we have, along with making sure that we're doing it safely and this community that we serve is not getting triggered or having any trauma unpacked because of ignorant people in the Zoom sphere. So I had to learn how to use Microsoft Teams. If anyone has used Microsoft Teams, you will know. Working as a producer for Microsoft Teams for a panel of 3 people, just 3 people, is chaos. So I had to get kind of better with my with software, learning how to do different interactive things, and actually researching different ways to use social media to our advantage. So one thing that I talked about a little bit earlier is knowing your audience, knowing what audience you want to reach. And the great thing about being in a digital space is you are broadening your reach by so many more people that you couldn't have reached before because they might have been in Missouri and never heard about you. You might have a speaker that's doing an Instagram live on your page where you are the co-host, and now you're reaching an audience all over the world. So knowing your audience, knowing what you want to reach, and actually taking the time to create a strategy within those new marketing and software pieces that you're using. So I would say just get kind of up on your tech, learn what different third-party apps are doing. One thing that we love doing was documentary showings using Netflix Party. And that was something I didn't even know was a thing. So just kind of knowing how to use the social media and things that we use daily to your advantage, where it's a little bit less work on you, but it's also getting you to think critically on how your target audience is able to receive it.
I think for the majors, or even, if you're still in school or you're in your career, I definitely had to take my email game up a notch. That meant putting in a signature, getting all the right information, make sure everything was typed correctly, grammatically, and just having to email a lot, especially if you're working on a group project or working on a team virtually, just making sure that your wording is correct, because there's not a lot of room in there to make errors, because a lot of things are taken literally when it's written down. So just having to tone yourself and make sure you have everything written correctly and to organize everything. I think my emailing and like even texting my quality has increased like tenfold.
I would agree with that. I think that definitely just in emailing it's important, but I think your full online presence is way more important. So you should have a really strong LinkedIn profile. You should have a really strong portfolio because people are looking for those outlets to meet you. Because before it might just be you'd meet each other at a networking event, but now they're going to go straight to Google and look you up. So it's important that you're having a strong internet presence in all capacity because that's the first place for people to look. I'd also say, I know it's but I have definitely learned to ask more questions in my work because someone's not really there holding my hand in person. I think that's been one of my weaknesses in the past is not asking enough questions, but I think it's kind of forced me in the workplace to have to ask those questions and talk to the right people about a project that I'm working on, just specifically so that I can learn more information, even though if I don't know what's going on, I really have to get that clarity. It's not as easy to just roll with the punches.
Yeah, I'll make a quick last minute comment about it. I agree with what everybody's been saying. I think I'm in a little bit of a different position because I'm currently becoming an English teacher. So it is communication, but it's not the PR kind of comm agency route that a lot of people go for. Um, so what I personally have really picked up during the pandemic is one, keeping people engaged via Zoom and online external communication. Courtney and Nick touched on this a little bit. Um, so it's not necessarily through my major, but at the beginning of an internship I had, everything got switched to online due to the pandemic. So we had to figure out for a nonprofit organization how to keep people engaged and give us money when you do things completely different than they expected. How do you put a 5K online and make people excited about it? How do you make a poker tournament online and make people excited about it? Also, like as a tour guide, I had to start focusing on Zooms and Microsoft Teams sessions for incoming students or those interested in the college. And it's really difficult to get people excited when they aren't able to go into buildings or see everything. So I think being able to adapt to your space is very important.
Thank you all so much. So the next question is from Eternity, and she wanted to know, with people coming back into the office next year, what are you hoping in your careers and what will you take from working remotely in COVID to when you go, hopefully, back into the office?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, just being able to foster those relationships even deeper. I think if you can make a relationship with someone, either a working relationship or a personal relationship through a virtual platform, it's way easier when you go to in person. And I sit here and I kind of think like, oh, it could be a full year by the time I go back to the office that I've been working at this company. And I should have those relationships by the time I get there. So like I said, I think it's just good to continue to develop those relationships, and you have to put in the extra effort a lot of times. Like I've had to send a message to my coworkers and say, hey, do you want to have a virtual coffee date? Or what are you doing this weekend? Or things like that, but just kind of putting in the extra effort to be able to create those relationships, maintain those relationships, and continue to develop in your own.
Well, mine is a little bit different because I was working in building prior to COVID. So we're a small staff. We're a staff of 7. So we were already homeboys. We were already homeboys, homegirls. We were ready to be chilling, all those stuff. We cool. So the main thing that we're taking back is now people realize the importance of our digital footprint. Being the youngest in my place of work, sometimes it's kind of like, Courtney, we don't really need a video for that. We don't really need this. We don't really need that. But boom, pandemic happened. Courtney, can you shoot a video and have this next week? It doesn't work that way. So now just kind of fine-tuning skills, being able to showcase those skills, and also being able to look at a person for more than just what they produce, but also centering their mental health and centering how effectively they're doing things is also not just indicative of if they want to do something, but just kind of checking in on people. So that's one thing that post-pandemic that I know will continue is just the quality of how we make sure people are doing okay and the amount of work and time for deliverables, we're kind of a little bit more conscious, because you realize that it to make great quality digital content, to make great quality content in general, it takes a lot of, it's not a labor of love. It's something that you enjoy doing, but at times it can be a little bit stressful. So just kind of, once again, prioritizing people, not just product, is one thing that I truly am looking forward to post-pandemic in the workplace.
To add on, I agree, but I have a different viewpoint a little bit. So yes, I really miss personal interactions and seeing people, and people always should be put first. But when I think about what I'm going to take from this COVID era, I think I'm going to focus more on how products can do well on online platforms. Obviously, this has been done for years now, and it's not any new tricks, but new platforms are so important. I think specifically about TikTok. I'm sure like at least half the people here have TikTok. I think a lot of companies still see TikTok and new platforms like it as a joke. And even teachers I have, really dislike TikTok, which I can understand. But if you look into statistics about how products do after they've been marketed on TikTok, things completely sell out. I'm sure some of you may have looked up products or even influencers after some viral video hit, and it's been 30 minutes and everything's sold out. I have a small business, and I know a lot of my friends who have small businesses completely sell out on TikTok. So one thing I'm definitely gonna take away from the COVID era is keeping an eye out on new platforms and keeping up with all of those trends.
As I mentioned previously, I think what I would like to, I think I'm going to see a lot of, and what I can bring back to the workplace is just the organization of working online. Just the organization skills here have had to increase a lot. And if I can take all the organization skills that I learned from having to work online and bring them to the workplace, being in person is going to be so much easier that I think you will thrive if you take those skills there. So.
Absolutely. So the next question is from Fern, and she wanted to know, what do you wish you knew about yourself before the pandemic that you learned through COVID?
I think I learned that I need to stop. I found that I keep thinking of these things as inconveniences first and challenges. And when COVID hit, I'm a fairly anxious person. I'm sure a few other people are here. So when things aren't nailed down, especially in the world, it's very, very shaky. So I'm like, this is a problem. I have no routine. I don't have any of this. But it's also an opportunity. It was an opportunity after I realized that, because now I have a chance to focus on myself, whether it be my work, hobbies, or even just like the reading or meditating, as I mentioned before. But I learned to have to take it as an opportunity, because there were no social events for a long time, and that's kind of a free ticket for you to take that time and energy and put that somewhere else.
I would agree with that. I think that I've definitely learned that it's important to be thankful for what we have. I'm lucky that I never got COVID. I know that I'm going to have access to the vaccine pretty soon. So I think it's just lucky that I've been so fortunate throughout the whole time. And like you said, it can be frustrating to say, oh, well, my vacation was canceled, or I haven't been able to see my friends, or I haven't been able to go out. But I should be glad for my health and that I've been in such a comfortable situation the whole time. I'll also go off, I feel like every question I've answered kind of around the same topic, but I am just such an off the charts extrovert that I've kind of learned that it's okay to slow down every now and then, and to kind of take a step back and realize that, oh, sitting at home is really not too bad. And you can have a Zoom happy hour with your friends and just have as great of a time as going out all the time. And honestly, it's kind of been good for me to take a step back and understand that, oh, life's a little slower now. This is a different change of pace, but it's all for the better.
Yeah, this is hard to reflect on, and you guys are asking the deep questions. Something that COVID has taught me is what I deem important in friends, relationships, and people is different than what I once thought I deemed important. I'm sure everyone knows in the past year it's been very hectic, not only with different political ideologies, and also obviously COVID itself. Do people wear masks? That's a big, issue and whatnot. And then also, I think during COVID, we've had such a big push to D&I initiatives, in all of America, in the world, and also specifically in companies. So kind of taking a look and hearing what people are saying, and if they are ready to adapt or just embrace different things, even if they make you uncomfortable, is really important. But if people are unwilling to be kind and respect others that deserve respect, then I think my relationship has completely changed with them. And those are some things that I honestly never thought of. And I'm glad that I am.
I've talked a lot, so you can do the next question so we can have some time for another point of view.
Okay, one last question. From Bryce, how have you guys stayed motivated during this tough time? Whether it was a book or a podcast or something in your personal life, what is your biggest motivation that's gotten you through this awful period of time?
I can answer that. I got a dog, and he's the sweetest pup. So it's great when you're working virtually to have some type of companion, something that can help you feel sane. And being a person that enjoys caring for people and works in a space where the role I do is actively caring for people, it gave me a little joy to have someone to care for, even when he does eat things that he's not supposed to eat and throw up and all the other weird stuff. And also working out. I know that Nick mentioned the importance of meditating, but one thing that the pandemic gave me was the time to actually make the time to prioritize my mental and physical health. So that's one thing that kept me sane, working out, eating really healthy, and also having my little workplace buddy.
I don't have a specific thing, but I would just say that I think that I've learned a lot more of how to create those work-life balance. So it's really difficult because I can't separate, obviously, working at home and living at home. And so just kind of helping myself to create those boundaries of saying, okay, at 6 p.m., I'm going to log off and not think about it and not open my computer again until 8 a.m. So while I don't have specific things, I've obviously loved reading, TV, meditating, exercising. I've done all of those things more in the past year than I ever have. But I think just creating that balance will be really healthy for when we do go back to real life, to understand how to bring those boundaries into a real in-person job as well.
I'll skip myself so maybe one person can quickly answer Dane's questions.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to have time for that, but thank you all so much for all of your amazing questions. And Courtney, Whitley, Celia, and Nick, thank you so much for your awesome answers. This was a really interesting session, and I know I took a lot from it, and I hope that everyone who was able to make it to this session did as well. So thank you so much.